guys, Jay here and welcome to another cosplay tutorial. Today I'm going to be making Meliodas' sword from 7 Deadly Sins. I don't know if this thing has a name, I'm just calling it Meliodas' sword because that's the character's name. Anyway, so before we begin, one thing I do need to state is how I made the template for it. It's a method I've used before and I've talked about in a couple other videos, but I might as well just say it here so that you guys know. So what I did is on my computer, I have a 32-inch monitor, so it's pretty big, and I took a photo that I found online of the sword. Then in an art program, I enlarged the entire picture until the handle matched the size of the PVC pipe I was using. So I just held this up to it until it matched the right size, and then I just traced the entire thing. I literally taped paper to my monitor and just traced the entire thing out so that I had everything the right size, or as close to the size as I'm gonna get. This might not be exactly accurate, but I don't know. So do that for you, whatever size you want. I'm not going to give you any actual measurements other than the length of this because it's just, I said it, so it's already done. But I don't give you any other measurements because I don't know if they're correct. So whatever you think the right measurements are, do that. Anyway, let's get on to the actual tutorial. I start by making the pattern I mentioned in the intro and cut it into each piece. The handle will be made of PVC pipe that's 1 inch for the inner diameter and 1 1/4 inch for the outer wall diameter that I cut off of a really old keyblade that I made in 2014 to be 7 1/4 inches long. And I'll use a 1/4 inch dowel for the core. I line up the dowel where I want it to sit, then mark and cut it the right size. Then use a Dremel to take off all of the sharp pieces on the end. I trace and cut out 3 pieces for the blade, with 1 being mirrored. There will be 2 mirrored outer pieces and 1 centerpiece. And I keep the blade as straight at a 90-degree angle as possible. To cut out the holes in the blade faces, I use a thin X-Acto knife with a brand new blade, so it's as sharp as possible, and carefully cut out each hole. I hold the knife at a slight angle, with the blade tip pointing slightly towards the center of the hole, so I don't accidentally make the backside wider than the front. I can then use a Dremel to widen the back until it's about the same size as the front. On the centerpiece for the blade, I use a ruler to find the center and mark out where the dowel will sit. I also do this above the holes for the second half of the dowel to sit, which will stiffen the blade. And then I cut both of these pieces out. I use an X-Acto knife to cut out the notches in the top of the blade, and use a Dremel to make them look a lot smoother and nicer. To glue the blade pieces together, I'm going to use contact cement, which you need to let almost dry until it's just barely tacky before sticking pieces together. And everywhere that I mention using it, I use 2 coats. After putting the centerpiece and one of the sides together, I use Gorilla Glue to put the dowel that goes on the top in place. Doing the same similar cutouts, I cut out 5 pieces for the guard and 3 pieces for the pommel. Ignore the extras here, they're just backup pieces just in case I mess up. I did the exact same thing to the pommel that I did for the center blade for the dowel to fit, and then cut what's going to be the center of the guard piece into 2 sections so that when they're all glued together, there's a hole all the way through it. Then I sanded the crap out of the pommel with a Dremel to get it to the right shape, heavily rounding the corners. Then after beveling the entire blade and guard on the belt sander to make everything go faster, which I can't show you because I can't get my camera out there, it's kind of raining out and stuff, I used the Dremel to smooth out all of the faces as well as where all of the layers met so that they were flush with one another in the holes in the notches. I ended up using 2mm craft foam to make faceplates for the top and bottom of the guard and the top of the pommel. That way they'll just be as clean as possible. Then I Dremeled all the edges smooth, then cut small openings in the faceplates to let the dowels pass, but having a snug fit. After gluing the dowel into the blade with Gorilla Glue, I went back over the face with a foam sanding block and 1000 grit sandpaper to get an even smoother finish. To glue all the parts together, I used a combination of Gorilla Glue in the holes where the dowels would touch and contact cement where the foam pieces would touch. The contact cement was so that the foam would stay together and not shift, while the Gorilla Glue cured. The PVC pipe is too large to fit over the dowel, so I cut strips of heavy-duty duct tape lengthwise and wrap them around parts of the dowel until the pipe can fit snugly, and Gorilla Glue it on. Then I glue on the pommel with more Gorilla Glue. And I have to make sure this is on straight and have nothing touch it. I don't want it to get rotated on accident and then have it cure crooked. To make the handle have that diamond detail cutout thing, I make it using 2mm foam, using an angled ruler to make sure everything is as straight as possible, and to make sure my measurements are all right. I make one of the column of diamonds directly in the center. Then I make half diamond cutouts on the left and right sides. This way, when I wrap it around the PVC pipe, the ends will come together, forming the same cutout in the correct placement. For the triangles on either side of the blade, I made half of a template and cut out 4 triangles from 2mm craft foam. The center line is actually important, which is why I made them using only half of a template. I traced the triangles onto a flat rate shipping box, as this cardboard is very nice and thin, and I make sure to do it where the cardboard would bend left to right. After tracing them, I made smaller circles inside. This is what I'm going to be cutting out. I used contact cement to sandwich the cardboard between the foam, making sure that one of the foam pieces has the side with the center line on the outside. Here's why it's important. I can use my scissors, or really any hard thin item like a ruler or something, and place it on that center line and bend it in half. Then I just glue it onto the blade with contact cement. The last step before painting is to use my heat gun over the entire sword to seal the foam. Just be very careful not to burn it. I covered the entire thing with black Plastidip, and then while that dried, I made the little detailed thing that goes on the guard. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, but I saw a screenshot and copied it the best I could. I made 2 mirrored ones out of 2mm craft foam and covered them also with Plastidip, and then used royal gold paint to make them look as close as I could to being correct. Not 100%, but they look fine to me. Honestly, to be fair, this can just be painted on if you really want to. I painted the full blade silver, and then taped it off to paint the top half black. Then I taped off the blade and part of the handle and used that same royal gold acrylic paint to paint all of the gold areas on the sword, including inside the diamond cutouts. I wasn't worried about the gold accidentally getting on the rest of the handle, because after the gold dried, I just used black acrylic paint to go over the handle and was able to clean up the gold spillover by just covering it with the black paint. And the final step was to superglue the guard details on, and the prop was finished. Alright, so that's the end of the tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I actually wasn't planning on making this, which is kind of funny. The only reason I made this was because I made it for a friend, and it's a surprise birthday present for her. So I'm telling her not to watch this video, at least yet, because I don't want her seeing this. But her birthday is right after KomoriCon, so at KomoriCon she's going to get this for a birthday present. So she has one. I know she does, and I know she likes the one she made, but she did want a better one, I know that. And I thought it'd be nice and just make one for her anyway. That way she also has 2 to choose from. And this one is like 10 pounds lighter. Hers is Warbler and like a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just heavy. So this one's a lot lighter, it's a lot more manageable, and it's a lot more con-friendly. So there's that. Anyway, if you like this tutorial, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys later.